Hello, my name is Robert from Royal Manufacturing. I've been dry washing for over 20 years here, we're in Southern California desert right here, and we're going to show you a little bit about this area. This area was first prospected and found gold here about 1890, so this is a good area known for prospecting. It's got a good history. I actually have written a one-page article in the GPAA, that's the Gold Prospector Association of America, in their claims guide on one-page ad of how to run a dry washer. So they asked me to do that, and I did that for them. So we're going to show you some aspects of what things to look for, what to buy. I own about 6 different dry washers of 6 different manufacturers. I've taken all the best things of each dry washer and taken out the worst things and made it into our own dry washer, which we can show you later on today. But right now we're going to start showing you about areas where to prospect. The first, before you start setting up your machine, you got to find this area that's known for gold and where to get it. Now the GPAA is a good spot to start with. They actually have about 7 claims within about 3-mile area of this area that you can go and keep all the gold that you find. So that's a good spot to start with, trying to get a spot for yourself. But right now we're just trying to look and see what makes a good area. If you start right here, this is bedrock. And you see this white quartz right here? That's a good sign of gold. Where you see white quartz, doesn't always mean there's going to be gold in that white quartz, but it's a good indicator. And this is down at bedrock. That's where you need to, there's no gold further past this bedrock. All the gold settles right down until it hits the bedrock. So all this is where it'd be good to prospect if it wasn't worked years ago, you know? The only gold that you'll find here is gold that has traveled in recent times, not in, thousands of years. We're talking, 20 years, 30 years. Now, if we look over here at this right here, you can see how these people have stacked these rocks. Now that shows me right there, that's some old time workings right there. Today's people, they're just gonna throw the rocks up there and they're not gonna spend the time to stack the rocks up here and make these nice shelves right here. But by seeing this, we can see that this has been worked, fairly hard, and we can see benches over here where other materials, they've stacked it up. So they've processed this gully here pretty hard. But this is what we're looking for. This is stacked up long ago. We're gonna go up here and see some other signs too. We'll show you. If you see right here, we got some more benches right here where people have removed this material to get down to the bedrock to find where the gold settles. It doesn't go any further than the bedrock. So here's some more benches where this area has been worked really hard and pushed up the hill. Here's another item over here. Here's another sand pile. This is what's coming off the front of the dry washer. As you can see, there's no big rocks in it because it's been classified. Now there's another dirt pile over here. Why would they have one pile right here, one pile over here? Same pile. What that tells me is when they set their dry washer up, the wind was going this way. It's very important about dry washing. See the wind? It was going that way. So when they first set up, they set their dry washer here and all of a sudden the wind changed. So they had to turn their dry washer and dry wash that way. So this is a classic example of a dry washer. Now they had, I don't know where they were getting their materials from, but it's probably somewhere close, probably right there where that hole is. Let's walk over there and see what they're doing over there. So this is where they're probably getting their material from right here because they're scooping it up right here and putting in their dry washer. So what you want to look for is virgin ground, something that hasn't been turned over many times. So what you want to see, just like you see, it's all classified over there, just one sand right here. We're going to look for material that's all mixed up. We got big rocks, we got dirt. You see this material has never been moved here. See, there's a rock right there. If that was been processed, you wouldn't be getting rocks like this and fine dirt right here. So this would be a good spot to prospect because it's virgin. See, you got medium rocks, you got big rocks, you got dirt in between. This would be a really good spot. I would process this area because the gold is coming down, and you can see this pile. There's their rock pile right there. So they actually put the rocks up there, and that's their sand piles. In fact, there's another one right behind us right there. No matter how hard the dirt is, you never want to dig in that sand because it's already been processed one time before. So if this is rock hard, at least you have a chance of getting something. Actually, this is pretty loose. But again, we got a nice mixture of rocks, dirt. This is really good stuff. This has not been moved and put back together because no one puts it back together like that. Here, this is actually rock sitting right on top that's never been moved here. See that? So this is natural rock right there, sitting right on the top. So all this would be really good area for working. Virgin ground that hasn't been turned over. So I would set my dryer washer up right here and start with that material right there. That would be a good start. But we'll walk up here and show you some bedrock over here too. Let's go look at that. So here we are, we're gonna walk up this little creek here from this wash right here. It's been worked really heavy. Up this little creek here. It hasn't been worked as heavy. I don't see all the signs of rocks piled up on both sides and stuff, and I see it's really close to bedrock, which means I don't have to dig very far to get to where the gold stops sifting through the dirt with the water action. So this is down to bedrock right here. All this area right here would be a very good spot to dig. Why? Because it's got all these little natural catches, all these little crevices right here between the rocks and stuff. If you'd actually remove this and take that dirt that's right there, that would be a real good spot. That's a natural riffle. You know, we got natural riffles happening here, and the bedrock's really soft. So right here, we actually sell a crevice tool. So we don't really have fissures that go straight down, but we manufacture this crevice tool that actually get down in the bottom of the crevice. Most crevice tools are made out of a 1/4-inch rod that's smashed at the end. We laser cut this out of AR plate, which is an abrasion resistant plate, so it's hard. And it's meant to get way down in the crevice, clear down to the bottom of the crevice, and get that material that's sitting down at the very bottom, which will contain the gold. The water's coming over here, getting caught in that crevice, so it'll come over here and crevicing, pulling that dirt out. See that dirt right there? That would be a real good, right here. Get a little dustpan and dustpan that in. That has been all the water running over the top of that. This dirt right here would possibly contain some gold because it's a natural crevice for the gold to hide into. So this is a crevice tool. Again, it's really long to get down into sheer, deep crevices right there, right down the crevices. Anyways, so this is also be a real good spot. We're down at bedrock. The gold doesn't fall any further than the bedrock. This is bedrock right here. So all these little crevices, we would brush out or vacuum out. I'll show you that early. We have a little vacuum cleaner that'll actually run our dry washer too, that will actually vacuum out all these crevices and get what the little microscopic gold. See all this dirt right here? There's rocks right there, but you got dirt right there. See that dirt right there? That's really good, nice dirt. It's down in the crevices. Actually, we can bust this stuff up. Get that dirt. See that dirt right there? Oh, that's really good stuff. Right there. All that has worked through this crevices, that crevice right there, and got, see there's crevice right there, and got down there. That would be a really good spot to prospect. Natural crevices. When you see bedrock like this exposed, you know, clean it out, especially if someone hasn't got here before you. Let's walk up here and see some more stuff here. So how we're leaving our crevices here at our bedrock, and we're seeing some white quartz. Here's some white quartz here. Here's a nice little vein of white quartz that comes through here. Now, sometimes you come across a white vein of quartz. What this means is there's possibly gold. White quartz carries gold. And sometimes there's some big white quartz that people all busted up and try to see if there's actually any gold in it. And I've run my metal detector over this, and there's no gold in there. Just because you see white quartz doesn't mean there's gold, but it's a good indication of gold presence, which is here. We know there's gold present because we're going to find some a little bit, but wherever there's white quartz, there's a good indication that it's a good gold area. So here's a white quartz vein. We've seen it down there, and we'll see some more up here, but that's another thing to look at. That's a good indication of gold. So you can grab some, knock a corner off, give it a hammer, chipping hammer would be better, and take a look. See if you see any gold going through there. Look at the crevices here, see if you see any visible gold. You know, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. A milky quartz, they'll actually smash it down to and pulverize it and put acids in it and eat the gold out of it in a milky quartz. This could contain gold. You'd have to have it assayed, you know, where they crush it down to powder and prospect it. There's a bunch of mines up in the lower Arizona where there's no gold visible. It's all in milky quartz, and they're processing it with cyanide. But that's all good stuff there. Let's go up and see some more stuff. So here we're coming up from our quartz vein. Here, that same vein probably goes right through there. Here's the same quartz right there, the same white quartz right here. And you can see we're right down to bedrock right here. There's some dirt, soft dirt right there. That might be a good spot to dig out right there. And here's the same quartz vein keeps going up here. Now this stuff is called caliche. It is like concrete. You know, the gold settles down through the ages if with water shifting it and stuff, and it comes down to where it stops. Either false bottom, this is called false bottom, or caliche. This is like concrete. You see how hard that is? Let's bust it up and see what's underneath. No, you're wasting your time. If there's any gold, it'd be running off of here, because this is false bottom. Here's your true bottom down here at your bedrock. So when you see this white stuff, don't start busting it up. Oh, there's got to be something underneath it, because there's not. It's hard. All of our gold is sitting right here on the surface right here. Its host rock is up further. It's being eroded from millions of years of water traveling it down. In fact, some of the rock we have, some of the gold here actually has little bits of rock actually hooked still to the rock, to the gold. And it's kind of blackish, grayish looking rock. So some of the gold still has the host rock stuck onto it. But don't waste your time digging through this concrete, because there's not going to be anything underneath it. And it goes for a distance too. And so when you see this caliche, don't dig through it. It's false bottom and there's nothing below it. So just stop right there. You can clean up to it right here. There it is, some more. But don't bother digging through it. There's nothing there. Let's keep walking up here and we'll show you our spot we're gonna be dry washing today. So here we're up at our site that we're gonna do our dry washing. Now earlier I took you down there, that wash right there. We see all those rocks stacked up right there. Now that would be a real good spot to work if it hadn't been worked so hard long time ago, because we see all those rocks are stacked up on both sides right there. So that area's been worked pretty hard. So now we have this little sub creek right here that's going down to that wash. That wash would be optimal, but it's already been removed. So we're getting to this little sub creek right here that has good potential. These rocks right here we moved ourselves, so this is not somebody else's workings, this is our own workings. So we're gonna pull out our Royal Gold dry washer here and compare it to a couple other ones we have on the table there. Now here's our classifier. This is what you first put your materials in. This is actually going to screen your materials off, and your smaller stuff will fall through a valve right here. So now we can look at some. Now when I'm at the gold shows and I try to talk about dry washers, I ask the people, have you ever run a dry washer before? And they say, no. And then I know I got my work in front of me, because they have no idea what makes a good dry washer, what makes a bad dry washer. And remember I told you about earlier, I have about 6 dry washers in my collection. Here's 2 of my 6 that I've got, and I'm gonna show you the problems with them and some good points and bad points, you know. And I'm gonna show you what I've done to alleviate all these problems. Now when you run a dry washer, you'll see us earlier how we start shoveling in there, and there's gonna be a cloud of dirt where we're trying to stay out of the dirt zone. So you're not really sitting up there really close watching, seeing what's happening here, because you want to be out of the dirt zone out here shoveling out there like that. And what's going to happen is, you see how these ones are open right here? And this is open right here. What's going to happen is it's at an angle, and you're going to have a rock. You know, you're going to be shoveling up rocks this big easily, because these rocks, all these rocks went up on the dry washer and were classified, and the smaller stuff went through. So here we're up at an angle, and you see what's gonna happen? When you throw it up there, you're not watching, look at that. Where does it go? Right down and clogs your valve right there. There's your valve, and that rock just clogged your valve. You don't know it's clogged, because you're out here shoveling the dirt in and, you know, keeping it going. The first thing you know, it's all clogged clear up to the top. And you say, what's happening? What's happening? Then you look at the bottom, there's nothing coming out, and you look right there, there's a big old rock right there. So the first thing that makes a good dry washer is having a closed top. No those rocks getting in there clogging your valve. Now that you got it clear full of dirt, you have 2 options. You're gonna try to open your valve right here. And this one doesn't move very good, because the way it's engineered, it's stuck with rocks. Open it up all the way and try to get it out. No, won't go out. Now you gotta take the whole thing apart. It's clear full of dirt. Clear up level. Oh, it did fall out. Anyways, and dump it out that way. Take your whole thing apart. Over here, we've alleviated that problem. Fully closed right there. no rocks can get and clog your valve. Now these people, made this one there. They think they got it made now. Look at that. That rock, it doesn't clog their valve. They didn't even have a valve. You see that? No valve. It doesn't clog, but everything you put into it immediately goes through there so fast that it doesn't have you want a nice even stream. We're gonna set it up right here and you're gonna see how it meters it nice and even. You want it to go across the riffles an even, steady flow. Yeah, they've eliminated the rock stickage, but it's gonna be all this material gonna go all at once and we'll have time to settle out and get shook in there and catch that really fine gold. Over here we have a valve, but they've got it designed very poorly. I'm taking the names off here so we're not putting down anybody. So these are, you can buy these on the market today, but here's this valve. I'm trying to push it and it's binding. I'm trying to do the best I can here, but you know, it's hopeless. You know, there's dirt getting wedged in there and you can't move it fine. Okay, so here, no valve. Over here, they got a valve, but poorly engineered, you know? So problems with here, no valve, open top. They got a valve, but it's not working good, open top. So let's look at ours. This is a Royal Gold dry washer. We got a valve right here that's easily, no things that get wedged. Open and close easily. Now we want to open as fast, we want it as fast as flow as possible without getting stuck. And they're staked at the end right here so they don't fall off on you. Right there, they stop right there. Anyway, so you're gonna open that flow back and forth right there, no problem, okay? The next thing, so what makes a good dry washer? Closed top, adjustable valve. Big area. See how big this area is for shoveling? We're gonna be back here about 6 foot out of the dust zone, shoveling into it. You want a big target that we can shovel into. We're not gonna be up here close because there's a lot of dirt right there. So we want a big target. Here, that's a fairly good sized target, but we got some bigger flares on it and flanges. Here, that's awful. That's awful. You know, it's stuff flying out the side. It's got no really capture. You know, you don't have a big enough lip to capture your nugget trap. What we got here is a nugget trap. If there's any nuggets getting caught, they'll get caught right here. It's closed off at both sides. Over here, yeah, we almost have it there, but over here, it's worthless. The next thing, we don't want to have any tools out here. With our dry washer, we're gonna come up here, set it down. There's no tools, no pins. Here's a dry washer. This one has no pins, so that's a pretty good thing. But this one over here, they got cotter pins. You pull this pin out here and you pull this pin over here. There's another pin over here, another pin over there. There's 3 pins holding there. A little cotter pin like this falls in the ground, it's gone. Especially when you get to start a big sand pile like that. So if you can stay away from the pins, that would be the best. So let's go ahead and look at the bottoms of the dry washer. This I want to show you what makes a good and a bad one. Like I said, at the gold shows, it's really tough trying to tell people about this. But now, by me throwing that rock in there, you can actually see what I'm talking about. And like I said, the worst thing about it is you don't know until it's completely full of dirt. And sometimes you'll shove your hand down there and start cutting it out, trying to reach down there to get it out, because you don't want to take the whole thing apart, but you normally have to take it apart. So let's grab the other half of our unit right here. So this is our classifier section of it. The next one is the base. When I talk about this right here, this is our recovery box. Now how a dry washer works is, it's working off of a leaf blower or another air supply of that thing. We're gonna show you like a leaf blower that you might already own, so you don't have to buy that portion of the machine. But we're gonna use a vacuum too that's available on the market. Now how the dry washer works is there's actually a fan inside. We'll take it apart. So what we got here, what makes a good dry washer is the riffles, how they're manufactured. What we do is we have 2 kinds of riffles here. We have Hungarians. Hungarians are like S's. They're really deep. Gets way down inside there. When the gold gets metered into here, and there's a float of air coming across here, and there's an offset cam inside which is shaking it. I'll take it open and show you how that works. But it's actually shaking it. So the materials are coming off our screen, feeding onto here. the air's coming up through the screen, and the screen inside, there's a fan with an offset cam, which is shaking it, and settling the gold. And the theory is the gold can't jump over these riffles. And these Hungarians are really deep. The gold can't go in reverse and jump over the riffles. So that's how, let's see what the insides look like. So next thing what makes a good dry washer is all these riffles and how they're done. These are laser cut out of one piece of steel. There's no welds to fail or anything else. This is our recovery screen right here. I'm gonna pull that out right there and show you with a motor underneath. There's our screen. Now there's the motor, what we call the motor. What happens is that the air's entering through there and it's spinning, and that spinning is actually making the fan go around circles and distributing the air, and the cam is actually making it shake, okay? And then that is distributing out. Now the next thing, which no other dry washers have, but we have here, is we baffle. You see this zone right here? These holes are perforated and don't match these holes. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to force more air out of here, out these zones, and less out of here. Why? Why we want to do that is because there's a little stream of dirt coming right out of our valve right here, which is, we don't have a full pad of dirt right here. So we don't want that much dirt right. We don't want that much air coming out of this zone because it's too much air, and it's blowing it out on both sides. It's too hot, too much air right there. So what we're doing is we're forcing that air where we need it and less where we don't. And that's how a dry washer works. Anyway, so let's put our recovery screen back in there. And we got a lot of other features in here. We got a bar to keep it more rigid, and we got D loops. I'll show you how that goes together. We can set up really in just about a matter of minutes. So we're gonna put our screen back in here. Everything on our dry washer is really nice and tight. Some guy told me, oh, it's really tight. Why is that so tight? I was trying to make an airtight box. This is all done on a laser, very precision. We're making a precision item right here. So we got to close our recovery box up. Now, the gold is going to sit right on top of this screen. I'll show you later how we clean it out. Let me get my glove off here. And it just snaps shut. Can't operate with the gloves on. Anyways. So now we'll go to our frame. Get our frame out. Now these are the three main components of our dry washer. We got our frame, our recovery box, and when we're carrying it, we give it a little tension with our spring right here. So it's all tight together. Right there. So we got our frame, our recovery box, and our classifier. So now we're going to go to our site over here and set it up, and I'll show you how easy that works out. We're going to set up right over here. First off, we set up our frame right here. Get our frame separated. You find the front of the frame has got these little push buttons right here. What those push buttons does, I'll show you later, but what that does, it actually changes the angle of the classifier. You want a real steep angle where you have no dirt clods, and you want a duller, a not so steep one. We're going to use it in the middle today. We're going to move it up to the very, very top, would be very flat, okay? I'll show you about that. We're going to keep it in the middle for this very second, but that's the front of it. So we're going to open it up, set it down, have those little buttons facing right towards you. Then you just take your classifier right here, grab two hands, just set it right there on the top, find those little holes, drop it on there, and then drop these ones right on there. Continue to move it back until it locks in. That's locked in, no pins, nothing to lose right there. It comes apart that easy too. Now here's our recovery box. Recovery box we got to put on there too. Gonna undo this right here. We just had it snapped up there so it's easy. And then we're gonna come over here and drop our box on there. Now if you'll notice, we got this little black silicone rubber isolators on there. What that does is we're not grounding our box off with the frame right here. What happens is when there's hot air going across our nylon polyester mix of our recovery screen right here, it causes static electricity. That static electricity draws fine gold in. So another thing we want to look at on a good quality dry washer is our recovery box not grounded to our our frame. And by having that silicone wires, that silicone right there keeps our recovery box isolated off of our frame. So let's go ahead and put this on there. It's real easy. All we're gonna do is drop it down right there. We're gonna walk around. We're gonna grab our 2 D-rings right here, our 2 S-hooks, and hook on our D-rings right up here. One right there, and the other one right here. Then we'll walk around to the other side and grab our chain. This chain allows the box to swing freely. Now, what angle do we set it at? People want to ask me, what angle do we need to set it at? We want the material to meter across there nice and evenly. That looks about the right angle. And this spring allows it to bounce and float freely. See how freely that floats right there? Because you want that vibration to sit there and settle that gold. As we bring it up higher, if we put it like right there, that is too flat. How do we know that's too flat? The material's just gonna build up here and get almost probably top to the top here. That's too slow of an angle. Every once in a while, we wanna see the tips and tops of these riffles coming across there. So we want it to go slow enough so it has time to settle that fine gold, but fast enough that's an even flow. So it's all about the materials. So what tells us what angle it is? The materials tells us what angle it is. I generally gonna start right there, but you want a nice, even flow going across there, right there. The next thing is we're facing the wrong direction. So we're gonna turn the unit around because we're gonna feed it. This is where our sand material comes from, that side up over here. Our feeding end, we're gonna put our material up here. So let's give it a quick turn. Grab it right here and just turn it around. Okay. Now that could possibly change our angle because now it looks a little bit flat. So all we're gonna do is put it down a little bit right there. The next step is to get our power supply via a leaf blower or a vacuum that I got right here. We're gonna use for our power supply. So let's go ahead and look at that right now. So here is our Craftsman leaf blower. You probably got one of these at home. They're fairly inexpensive. This one's about $125. Now, what you want is one that has a lock on the trigger. This doesn't have a lock on the trigger, but what I've done here is I just drilled and tapped this little bolt right here so I can lock the trigger. So you could do this at home yourself. So you could buy just a cheap leaf blower and have a trigger lock that I just drilled and tapped that little bolt right there. And I just come off there, and what that does is it keeps it locked with that much pressure. Normally you're blowing leaves and stuff, but this is actually what's turning that fan in there and creating our vibration in our air supply. So this is a good thing. You probably already own one of these, and this is one more thing that you don't need to buy that you possibly already own as a leaf blower. So let's go with what we're gonna use. We're gonna use a leaf blower here. Now what these people have done is they've taken a leaf blower and they've put it on top of a 5-gallon bucket, okay? It's a great idea, you know? So what this does is when we get down to bedrock, we'll get over here and hook up our vacuum cleaner hose and suck all that dirt down to get all the nooks and crannies and get all that gold that's in those crevices. You know, with this, I can't do that. You can get a little broom and sweep it in there, but here we can suck up all those nooks and crannies and get it clear down the bedrock where all the good stuff's at. So this is a dual purpose. It's a vacuum cleaner plus a power supply for our dry washers. This is what we're gonna use today. But I'm saying is, if you have a leaf blower, you're ready there, because here's another, $325 or better on here, but it's worth it, you know? So this is what we're gonna use for our power supply. So the next thing you're gonna do we're going to use this as a blower. So this is the inlet, so it's gonna suck up air here, and it's gonna blow here, and we're gonna hook onto there. Now we're gonna hook up, now this is a vacuum line. This is only about 2-inch. This is using a standard 3-inch hose that's available on our website. So let's grab our hose. Now this hose, it's not a heater hose that you get at Home Depot, okay? You can step on this, it'll flex back. It doesn't have wire in it. It's 10 feet long. Why is it 10 feet long? You want to get your motor out of the dust zone. So right now we're going to see where's the dust going? It's going right that way. So where do we want to put our motor? On that side. Where do we want to be working? On that side, out of the dust zone, because right here, that's where all of our dust is going to go. So that means we're going to hook up our motor out of here. Now, just like we've seen those two piles over there, how we've seen a pile on both sides, the wind continually changes. So I wouldn't be surprised if halfway down the day we'll have to move on the other side. But this is our dry washer hose. So we're going to hook that up. Just a simple hose clamp fitting. And we'll hook that on there real easy. Now another thing what you want to do is you want to have this free moving, okay? Free moving. This hose touching on the dirt right here is keeping it from free moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig a little bit of a hole underneath our thing, underneath there, so our tube is not touching the ground, keeping the motion from not going. There's a lot of people selling all kinds of fancy shovels. Just a number 2 shovel like this is all you need. You don't need all this fancy stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to shovel some material out from underneath there to allow our hose to free float, okay? We don't want the hose, the hose eventually going to touch the ground, but right underneath of it, you don't want it pinning the recovery box down. So now that we got our nice little hose right there, I'm going to hook this up. Nice tight fit right there. And I got our tool right here. Okay. So there's what I'm talking about, free floating. See, that's free floating right there. You don't have all that. You don't have all that hose touching on the ground there. Okay. Okay, there it is. There's our whole setup. Now, again, you see how that hose is free floating right there? Okay, now, next thing you gotta understand, that everything we put in the top either goes 2 directions. Either comes out the front, or comes out the front side being there, the big rocks, or comes out over here. What's gonna happen is, you're gonna have to continually shovel this material away from the front. So dry washing is really a 2-man sport. You got one guy over there shoveling it in, and another guy shoveling the material out the front and clearing the rocks right here. So that's it. Now what's going to happen is this dirt is going to fall right here and clog up and bury my hose, and it'll trap my thing and keep it from moving freely. So all we do right there is we cut a piece of plywood that's 10 3/4, and we put it on the front right there. Right there. We hold it with a simple clamp right there. One high, one low. Now that dirt will come off of there and won't go up underneath our dry washer. There's a little tip for you. So now all the dirt will be right here in the front. Be easily to get and not clogging our thing. The next thing is when you start running the dry washer right here, as you shovel up inside there, all this rocks are going to fall right here. Within minutes, this pile is going to get this big. What do? What I do is I set up a milk crate with a bucket right here and capture my rocks, so I don't have to shovel. Shoveling rocks are no fun because they don't go in very good. There's just no fun shoveling rocks. So what we're going to do is set up our milk crate right here. So we capture our rocks, we can walk them over to a pile like that and be done with them. We don't have to handle them a second time. So that's it. Dirt fines go that way, big rocks go this way. Next thing, let's look at some tools, our basic tools. There are a lot of people selling a lot of stuff out there that's not needed. So let's go ahead and see out your basic tools. We got our shovel here. Let's see. We got our good pick here. This has been used plenty. Shovel, a pick, nice pick. We got a classifier screen. We have a 12 mesh. We have our hex pan. We have our 10-inch green pan. And then we have our 1/2-inch classifier. And then we have our shovel, which I'll show you, our trowel. And we have a plastic one right here. These are basically all the tools that you need for dry washing, along with our snuffer bottle, which we'll show you in a few seconds. Classifier, if you got kids and stuff that want to help work, and they always want to help dig in the dirt, give them a pail like this, and send little Johnny over there, hey, grab this pick and your little shovel. You can buy one of those little mini shovels. They're little camp shovels. They're perfect for kids. They're short, they got a T-handle on them. You send them right over there. You send them over to the classifier. And come on, Dad, let's go. No, we gotta get everything set up. Let's go, I wanna go. So give Johnny his shovel and his bucket right here. You tell him, here, start getting me some material over here. So this is the area we're gonna prospect. To keep the kids occupied, give them their classifier screen. 2 kids work really good at this. 1 kid shaking, and the other guy filling. You can get 2 kids occupied for a long time. They love digging in the dirt. Everybody loves digging in the dirt. So they're digging in the dirt right here, and they're putting it right there, you know, filling it up, and the other kid's sitting there, big smile on their face. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at those. Oh, look at that one. Looks like an arrowhead, you know, and they're all getting excited. Dad, look at that. I found an Indian arrowhead. Oh, yeah, that is right. That's an arrowhead. We better keep that. Along with all the little ones that you have at your house, you know, that big old rock collection, along with that big shell collection you got. Now you got yourself an Indian arrowhead that you found dry washing, you know. We better save that. You know how valuable that is. Those don't come across every day. Oh, look, I got another one. Another Indian arrowhead. They're gonna find so many Indian arrowheads out here. They're gonna be loving to come back. So there's your rocks right there. Throw those aside. So you got 2 kids having a good fun right here, classifying for you. Now, do you really need to do this? No, you don't really need to do this because our dry washer's got that classifier built onto it. That's what it's for. But here, you can do a little sample over there, a little sample over here, or get the kids out of your hair, and they're really happy. And guess what? Once you grab this bucket and pour it in here, it's all classified already. It's ready to go. So they are really helping. You don't have to handle any rocks or anything like that. They're really helping out, okay? So there's a good tip that you don't really need this, but bring a couple buckets and get yourself the 3.5-gallon buckets. Why? Because those kids love to fill them clear to the top. And you go, great, you filled it up to the top, but now I can't pick it up. So that's why you get those 3.5-gallon buckets for them, okay? So there's your classifier. Oh, we just dropped our valuable Indian hair. Dad, you just dropped our Indian hair, arrowhead. Yeah, we'll take that home with us. So there's people telling you, you got to get a 1/4-inch classifier. This is a real waste of time because what happens is it gets clogged and won't allow any dirt to go through, okay? So get yourself the 1/2-inch one. That's all you need. The 1/4-inch one, it just gets clogged up and you can't use it as fast because all the rock clogs all the holes and nothing will go through it. So the 1/2-inch one's all you need. So you got your classifier, got your shovel, got your pick. And why you need a pan for? We're out in the desert. There's no water out here. Even though we're using a dry washer, we're using this dry washer because it's a concentrator for arid areas where there's no running water. You get your best recovery with water, but there's no water here, you know? It's just dry dirt. We could bring our own water, but we're getting dry dirt wet. And that doesn't make sense because we couldn't bring enough water with us today that how much dirt we're gonna process. But we do need water to process the concentrates that we're gonna get out of our dry washer. So we still need our pan. And we like the hex pan. We still like our round green pan because we can see the contrast real easy. So this is worthless, we don't need that. If you don't own a hex pan where you can get it classified really nice, a good 10 mesh one is very handy. You can classify your materials through here, set it aside, pan that out, and then very carefully see what's bigger if you got any bigger stuff. So that's handy, that's useful. Nice little pick right here for grading and and chopping the stuff out. That works really good. Got a plastic spoon, that's good for striking off the top. That's good. Now here's a customized rake one that I've made myself out of stainless because I'm using it extra heavy here. But you go to the dollar store, that's where they have all those cheap gardening tools, and you'll find a little trowel like this, and you'll see how we work this. This is a real handy tool. And most off, a pair of leather gloves, because we're handling rocks and stuff all day long. So here's our basic tools: a shovel, a pick, a classifier, always our 5-gallon buckets, our classifier down to smaller, our round pan, our hex pan, and our little pick and our gloves. So let's go ahead and set up and start trying to get some materials here. So next thing we're going to do is set up so we don't have to catch those rocks over and over and over again. So we're going to take our crate, set up right there, spend a little time getting it set up nicely. It'll pay for itself in time savings. Right there. Then we just scrape all those rocks right into our bucket. And we pick up our bucket and set it right over there. Should be a little bit lower so it can naturally go inside there. Let's do that. It'll only take a few seconds to set up nicely. And well worth a good setup. Kind of like setting up a sluice box, you know, get it set up perfect, and they throw this rock inside to get it weighted, not floating around on us. There we go. That's perfect. Those rocks right there. Now we're in the middle. See how steep that angle is? If we're processing dirt clods, like this dirt clod right here, and you're shoveling it up there, you know, dirt clods in my thing right there. That could be gold in there. It's coming too steep. You don't find this on other dry washers, but we have those little buttons that we can push right there. And we can push those little buttons right in and push down. You see how much flatter that is? That's at its flattest state. We're gonna run it right about there. If we need it really steep, we'll take it to the third stage right there. That's flatter. Now those dirt clods will have more time to sit there and work it. If you want it more of an angle for just flow sands and gravels, no dirt clods, we'll run it in a different angle. Now when we change that angle, it changes this angle. So now we got to pull the chain up and get that's too steep. You see how steep that angle is? I can just look at it right there and tell you it's too steep. So we're going to raise it up. Again, we want to have the materials this meter off there nice and even. Nice even stream. That's too flat. Why is it too flat? Because I say it's too flat. Remember, the materials are going to tell us what to do. We'll start right there. We don't want to see the materials be level like that. Of course, we haven't turned it on yet. Okay, there's our hose free. Our front right there. We got a rock catcher right here. Right there. Got her right there. Now we're ready to start getting our materials right here. And again, we're getting it in the bottom of this little dried creek right here. It's concentrating it towards it's coming off the sides and coming down to it. So this is a good spot. We've gotten some nice gold here before. The gold is plentiful, but it's very fine. So before we turn the dry washer on, because it's gonna process that material really fast. The nice thing about a dry washer is it processes a lot of material really fast. It's gonna work me pretty hard here. So to do that, we're gonna soften up some material, break up those dirt clods, and get some material already broke loose. Now, if I had my kids right here, they'd probably have 3 or 4 buckets already set up for me, and I wouldn't have to work so hard. You know, it's all a nice family affair. You know, we get those kids in there digging in the dirt, get the dad digging in the dirt, Get the mom digging in the dirt if she'll do it. Anyway, so break up this material and get it ready to go here. Because when the dry washer comes on, it's gonna work. We're gonna have to feed it very, very quickly. Doesn't matter if you let it run out of material, just we wanna have it running. We wanna optimize our time, and then it's running right here. Now, I'm busting up these dirt clods, just getting this material ready to go right here. You see, that's a nice mixture of rocks and gravels and stuff. This stuff's never been turned before. It's really nice. Maybe we'll get our pick in here and do a little picking around here, busting it up, getting around underneath the rocks and stuff. Over here looks like a good area too. It's a little bit harder, but still good spots for gold. Now, once we turn the dry washer on, we might not be able to hear because the motor will be whining. And normally what I do is I fill the little gas tank full of gas, and I'll run that whole thing before I turn the dry washer off. You know, I know there's gold here. I don't need to stop every 5 minutes. We've drove 2.5 hours to get here. We want to spend our time processing materials, not looking at it and panning it out. I mean, if it's a new area, you want to make sure there's gold. But since we know there's gold here, we're going to spend our time running this until it runs out of gas. And then we'll open it up and we'll show you what's happening. Because once we turn it on, it's gonna be a little bit harder to hear. So we got some material set up right here. Now you want to stay away from this kind of stuff. This stuff will clog your valve. It'll crisscross your valve like this and clog up. The dirt will fall on top of it. You want to stay away from those grasses like that. A little bit's okay, but twigs and stuff, that's generally what you want to stay away from. We got roots, we got all kinds of stuff here. Okay, we got enough, we can turn the dry washer on. So, to get it started, just start your leaf blower, or on our hand here, our vacuum. You see the action, how it's shaking, blowing right there. Now we can start feeding it. We'll grab our material right here, shake it up there, throw it up there. Now we're going to set our valve. Get our valve so it's a nice even flow. A little bit less. Nice, even, steady flow of materials. Now here's where it comes our little thing right here. We can push it up, down, take it in. Now it's clogged. You can stick your finger up there. We'll open up a little bit. It's empty. Gotta keep shoveling. This is where the second person would be coming in play. One person shoveling, one person feeding and clearing it out. Rake it up, rake it down. All that material's almost gone already, that fast. So if you had one person scraping and it's all gone already. So it's hard to keep up with it because the amount of material. Now we gotta get the material. Everything that we shovel into it, we gotta shovel off the front. Our little board needs to be moved. There's our material. You can see the action of the material. It's shaking, that's shaking it down, and you see the air coming through. Now why it's not moving is because there's no more dirt in there, so it's just purely rocks, so it's moving. So if I put the dirt to it, that'll clog the holes up and allow more material to go through there. When our bucket gets full, we can walk it to our rock pile. We don't have to handle that stuff again. Okay, so what we've done now is we've changed out our vacuum that was powering our dry washer, and we hooked up to our leaf blower. So now we've dug about a half an hour now, and now I'm thinking of getting to bedrock. I see some more white quartz over here. Right here, see some more white quartz. See the white quartz there? And I think I'm to something hard, might be that caliche or something. But now I'm gonna start my vacuum up and do a little vacuuming. If you didn't have a vacuum, you use a little whisk broom and a dustpan and stuff, but I know some older gentlemen, that's all they do is use the vacuum. They're kind of, they get their little chair set up and they're just vacuum away, They don't do any shoveling, and when it starts throwing a lot of dirt out the thing, that's when it's full, okay? So now we're basically going to, we've dug around here. There could have been some stuff that came off and fell down here at the base right here, and it could be some good stuff there. And we're just gonna do some vacuuming. Again, here's this nice white quartz, that white quartz that we've seen, that big vein that runs through here. So let's do some vacuuming. Let's get this thing started and get some vacuuming here. Turn it on, gas it, and go. Here's some of that caliche again. That white rock right there. White quartz. Got some natural crack, got some good material there. Look at that white quartz right there. More white quartz. See a lot of dirt coming out, that means it's full. So now we got it cleaned out, pretty much of that mixture of caliche and some rocks. It's soft, but it's still hard enough that gold is not going to sift its way through that hard rock. It's degrading granite or something of that. But we've got this nice, look at this nice white quartz. Got some nice cracks going up here too. We might want to come back later and see this crack right here. Get our little crevice tool out and do some crevicing right there. Let me go get our tool. That may be a good spot for it. Now the crack is, okay, got my crevice tool. Now the crack is going with the flow. If the crack was going against the flow, it'd be better. That would be a natural catch. So this is going this way. You know, so it's not as good as if it was going this way, because that way the gold would fall into. This way, if it fell into it could be washed out. So it's not as good as, they're all going this way. It's not as good as they go in the opposite direction, against the grain. This is going with the flow. So that crevice is not, if it had any gold in it, it'd probably been washed out and fell down into here. Got a deep pocket going here with a vacuum cleaner. But I wouldn't waste my time going past that. It's semi-hard. It's not going to filter, the gold's not going to filter past that, you know, work its way past that semi-bedrock there. But definitely here's our white quartz sitting on top. It's never been moved. This is all virgin material. Never been, no one's ever gotten in here and cleaned this out. So let's go ahead and look inside of our vacuum right here. It just pops off. And like I said, it's completely full. That's how when you start seeing all that dirt flying out of there, that means it's full. Like I said, I know some older guys, gentlemen, they get 2 chairs sitting here and they just vacuum all day long. They just love the vacuum, you know. No shoveling. But now you got to pick up this bucket. Now we're going to process this bucket just like we did with all of our other buckets through there. We're going to turn our little leaf blower on and we'll process that material. While it's still off, you can see the way it shakes. And the theory is that shaking shakes the gold down and gets caught behind the ripples, and it's so heavy that it can't jump over because it's being shook down to the bottom like panning. When you're panning, you're shaking the pan, trying to make that settle. It's the exact same thing what the Drywasher is doing. It's shaking it, panning it down to the bottom. So let's go ahead and start our little leaf blower here, working pretty good. So we just dumped that bucket that we just vacuumed out of the bedrock right there, and we're getting ready to do a clean out right here. Grab our pan, set down right underneath of it right there, unhook our latch. Now remember, do you see it shaking like that? Shaking like that? So guys, we got it cleaned out to just the top. So we let it run out until it finished cleaning off right there. So there's our concentrates from the rest of that digging right there. Just unhook it, drop it right there, and then unlatch it. Pick it up, and there's all done. Give a couple bops right there, and that's it. That's all of our concentrates right there. Chain out of there. Snap it shut again. Put our cover pan back there. And put the chain back up. And we just turned all that digging into a 10-inch pan. Now, if I just went and got this, grabbed a pan full of material like this, we'd be lucky to get, one speck of gold out of this, if that. Maybe only 3 or 4 pans full have a speck of gold in there. But now we've taken all these shovels and shovels and shovels and concentrated it down to this one 10-inch pan full of material. So the next step is to pan it out. And again, we don't use water out here because we get all this dry dirt wet. Now, dry washers only work when it's absolutely dry. If I could take my hand and grab this dirt and it stays in a dirt clod, it's too wet, okay? So it's gotta be absolutely dry. If you come out and it rained within the last 2 weeks and the top layer is wet, and if it holds together any at all, it's too wet. The gold will hang on that dirt and it'll slide right on out. It's gotta be free flowing so it can sift down and get caught behind those riffles. There's only one thing between absolutely dry dirt and running water. That's a recirculating high banking sluice, what we sell too. And then you're getting wet dirt wetter, which is good. But dry washing in an arid area like this is the way to go. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. Next thing to do is pan it out. Okay, the next step to do is pan it out. This is the stuff we just took off the dry washer here, and we're gonna put in our hex pan. Put the pan in the water here, and we're gonna dump it in. There's our full pan full of material right there. Next step is to get it all wet. Work it down, get that all mixed in really wet. Get it all liquefied. Now we're just trying to shake it down to the bottom. We're starting with the big deep grooves on this side. So right now we're just gonna hold it flat. Just trying to get that gold to settle down at the bottom here. Okay, stratify it right here. Now that we got it all mixed in, now we can start getting a little angle on it. And again, if I would have screened it off of that 20 mesh or the 12 mesh that I have, we could save a little bit of time. But I'm trying to show you how well we can pan this out with absolutely nothing else but just a pan. Stratify it back, get that gold to settle back to the corner. Now, every time I go back and forth, that's going do right down to the corner. So we know the gold's down at the very bottom of the corner right here. So now we get down to a manageable thing. We just go up and down, and bring it back, just so we don't lose that gold. And then go up, down, up, down. And sometimes you just come over, get it stratified down. You can take your hand, just rake some of this big stuff off. And again, if I had run it through that mesh over there, it would have been better. But like I said, I'm just trying to show you, from that big pan to here will be about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. We're just going up and down, up and down. Bring it back, up, down. We get down to the corner, we're gonna run to these little ridges right here, which makes all the stuff roll out. I think we can do that now. Now we're gonna bring it back to the corner here and just go up and down again. And we wanna keep an eye on it. When we start seeing the gold rolling out, we're gonna stop and bring it back. Push everything back in that corner. Let's get rid of a few of these big rocks. I don't see any gold yet. The gold in this area it's not real pure. It's not a real bright gold. It's got it mixed with silver and copper and stuff. Don't see any gold yet. I see a couple little micro specks right here. Well, let's go ahead, and then you're supposed to be able to move right here. There's some nice stuff right here. See all this stuff right here? Right here. We're going to move to our round pan. With a square pan, you're trying to roll this around and wash away it all. Oh, there's a real nice piece right there. Right there. Didn't see that before. We're going to, round pan, we can be able to swirl it and get the other stuff away from where we're going. So we're going to transfer this material from our hex pan, because it's hexagon. It doesn't flow well. And we'll wash it out. Now we're going to, oops, there's some more gold right there. We're going to get rid of this dirty water so you can see better. I'll go over our ripples. And we'll wash it off one more time so we have nice clean water. Now we got a nice manageable amount of dirt here. Now we're going to swirl it and see what we got here. And the next thing we do, we get our snuffer bottle. It's this little squeeze bottle, and it sucks up the gold. Right now, we're going to put it all in the corner. Now with a round pan, every time I go back and forth, you see how it swerves back and forth. Now the hex pan, each time it works its way down to the corner. But you can't, what we call flaring, which means I'm taking the light stuff and swirling it away. Swirling it away. Leaving just the stuff in the corner. Okay. Now we got something, I think it's a piece of lead, old lead shot right there. Now I can make it walk up the side. See all that gold right there? That's what we got in our half hour. Go up, right down the corner. See it go right up the side here? Make that gold crawl right up the side. So here's our gold that we got. See, it's enough to make the corner all gold right there. You know, it's not a fortune gold. We got some nice crumbly little gold. We got one. It's still got some rock hooked to it. Anyways, it got maybe, you know, you can see that this one's got rock. If you could pan in on that one right there, I mean, it's really small, but it's got some rock hooked to it right there. Real crumbly. It hasn't moved very far from its host. So let's put it back into the corner and we'll suck that up. Anyways, that's the type of gold we're getting with our dry washer. So we got everything from the little micro specks to the little flakies right here. This is the real thing, you know. It's really neat in this day and age that you can go out and find a little bit of gold like this. This is what settled the West, you know. This is what brung people out from 1890 to settle this area, to find this gold that was here. So from 1890 to, you know, we're at 2012, you know, it's still here and you can still find it today, you know. Like I said, I'm not the first one to stand on this ground, but I'm the first one to ever grab that gold right there. Look at that. And that's something special in today's, that I can go out and find that little nugget of gold right there. And I don't call it a nugget, but you know, it's gold, and it's really special. You know, it's like being independent. It's like hunting and fishing and going out, and you know, this is one of the few hobbies that actually pays a little dividend back. You know, and it's really special that I'm the first one to uncover that gold. So I hope this excites you, and go out and find your own fortune. But that's what it is. So hopefully I've gave you some insight of what to look for, and may your pan be gold like this. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Hi, I'm Robert Reek from Royal Manufacturing, home of the original self-locking sluice box, the sluice box that folds from 15 inches to 50 inches. We have a 30-inch sluice box, a 24-inch sluice box. Our recirculating high banker that we take to the desert when the ground's wet. We can recirculate the same water over and over again when the dry washer is not usable. We have our Royal Gold dry washer with 110 rivets, laser cut riffles, all zinc plated, many other fine features of closed top and no pins and bolts construction. Please go to our website to see more information about our Royal dry washer, our mini high banker recirculator, and our mini sluice boxes. Hope to see you out in the field very soon. Thank you.